Hello students, welcome to week 4 for our course. This week we will be looking at the research proposal basics and diving deeper into what is expected for our midterm research proposal. As you look at the week 4 agenda, it's important to know that you should be reading chapters 8 and 9 in the Babby text and chapters 7 and 8 in the Rubin text. Additionally, there's 3 videos to watch that'll help you with looking at data analysis for quantitative and qualitative research methods, which we should be looking and moving towards next week, as well as writing your research proposal. It's important to know that starting next week, you should be conducting your research, sending it out, and all of that information so that you can get your research going. This week, the midterm research proposal is due, but you are diving into your actual data collection beginning next week. So it's important that you hit the ground running with that. As you look at the research proposal in Blackboard, there is a detailed outline that tells you everything you need to include within your research proposal. But as we're going through the lecture today, it's important to take a look at and look at some basic questions we should be asking ourselves before we get into the research proposal. A good place to begin is to really ask yourself what you want to study, what's the topic's important, how is it significant within the area in your class, and so on. It's important to avoid some of the noted notions right here. You need to really be concise. You're addressing one communication problem. You're trying to answer a question to a communication phenomenon or behavior, one thing. I've worked a lot of that out with you individually for those that needed it for your research topic. So if you haven't already reached out to me, it's important to do that at this point. And so these are some things that you should be looking at as you go through your proposal and start to narrow down your topic or solidify it. The actual research proposal itself should follow this outline, meaning it should be organized in the following way. The underlined and bold words are the ones that should be your headers in your APA paper. You should have an introduction section. You should have a background and significance section. You should also have a literature review, a research and design method sections, and a preliminary suppositions and implications section, as well as a conclusion. The conclusion will then become your discussion and conclusion when your paper is finished, but everything else for the first 5 areas will be included in your final write-up as well in your critical assignment. So it's important to know that we're going to go through each of these individually so you really have a good idea of what it is we'll be looking at. Just to recap, this is the assignment from Blackboard, copied out here for you to look at. You're going to submit a research proposal that includes a clear introduction, purpose statement within the introduction, literature review, research questions, hypotheses, and a method section. You're going to use this proposal to conduct research for your critical assignment and then turn it into a research project paper at the end of the semester. You do have to submit this to SafeAssign, and your SafeAssign should be less than 25%. And so that's really important to keep in mind. Additionally, you'll notice there's not a page count here. A solid research proposal at the graduate level is going to be at least 15 to 20 pages. And so that's important to keep in mind. Anything less than that is definitely going to be marked down for not having enough information. So keep that in mind as you're writing. That's where you should be. You'll be spending a significant amount of time on that this week. Looking at these points in more depth, it's important to know that your introduction really needs to present a narrative in about a couple of paragraphs or so, or a page or so, that helps you really succinctly answer the questions you see at the below slide. What is central to your research problem? What is the topic of study that's related to the problem? What method should be used to analyze the problem? And why is this important? Why is this important research? Why is it significant? And why should somebody reading the proposal really care about the outcomes? And those are some clear areas to really get started and address when you look at your research proposal. In your introduction, the reader should be able to understand why it is we're researching what it is, but also be clearly introduced to the topic because we may not be familiar with the topic ourselves. The background and significance section is actually a part of the introduction itself. It's after you've introduced the topic, then you provide some significance for the research. At the end of this section, this is where you will put your purpose statement. So in this section, it's really important that you not only just provide background, but you provide significance and justification for your proposal. This is where you really explain the context of your proposal and describe in detail why the research you want to write is important. Approaching writing really in this section, it's important to know that you can't assume your readers will know as much as you do on the research problem. So it's important for you to point out and highlight the most significant information and give us enough background to have a contextual understanding of what it is you're choosing to research. It's important that you follow some of the key points listed here. And remember, this is in Blackboard, but it's really important for you to state the research problem at the end. That's really where your purpose of study is. You need to present a rationale for your proposed study and clearly indicate what it is you're doing and that it's worth doing. Describe major issues or problems that you need to address, explain how you plan to go about conducting research, and then clearly identify the key sources you intend to use, as well as setting boundaries for your proposed research and providing a clear focus. And this is really where the crux of what it is. Your introduction leads us into understanding, have a solid understanding of your topic, but the background and significance let us know more deeply about your topic and how significant it really is. After you've laid out your purpose statement and background and significance section, it's important to move into your literature review. In your literature review, you need to make sure you utilize the 5 C's. You need to cite, compare, contrast, critique, and connect the literature to your own area of research. This is significantly connected to the background and significance section of your study. It's really a more deliberate and deeply reviewed area and synthesis of prior studies and information related to your research problem. This really here is where you place your project within the larger whole of what is really currently being explored from a scholarly perspective, while demonstrating to the readers, why your work may be original and innovative and how you are identifying a gap within communication research. You need to look at your literature to show and provide justification that this is an area of study worth studying, and make sure that you're connecting it to the 5 C's and in your thematic review. As you're going through this, and we've already addressed this already, you are writing a thematic literature review. You need to make sure that you utilize the 5 C's in framing your literature review and organizing it. Cite, compare, contrast, critique, and connect. As we move more deeply into the research proposal, it's important to look at research design and methods. This section is really important that it's well written and logically organized, because at this point, you're not actually doing the research, so you need to make sure the reader would have confidence in what you're proposing to scholarly pursue it. When describing the methods you will use, it's important to specify the research operations you will undertake, identifying if that's quantitative or qualitative measures. Keep in mind that a methodology is not just a list of tasks, rather it's an argument as to why these tasks add up to the best way to investigate your problem, as well as analyzing that it's an important point not just to merely list the tasks to perform, but to demonstrate what the best approach may be to do this. Additionally, you need to anticipate and acknowledge any potential barriers or pitfalls that could arise as a part of doing the actual research and within your research design. This is also where you will put an appendix at the end of your paper that has your survey instrument or your interview guide, meaning it has your actual method for collecting data. If you're utilizing quantitative research methods, you'll have your actual survey. If you're utilizing qualitative, you'll have your actual interview guide. After you've done that, you'll move into the preliminary suppositions section. This section is designed to allow the writer to argue how and in what ways you believe your research may refine, revise, or extend existing knowledge within communication studies. This allows you to also indicate what you think the results might mean in regards to some theoretical framework or underpinnings within communication phenomenon and behavior, as well as suggestions for subsequent research that could arise from the potential outcomes. It's where you're going to outline what may be of value and use after you get your data. What are you going to use it for? How could it be useful to the field as a whole? And that's what you'll do in this section. Your conclusion is where you're going to reiterate the importance of the significance of study from your proposal, provide a brief summary of the entire thing you plan to do, and wrap it up with your purpose statement. You'll also need to address possible potential implications arising from your proposed study, as well as a sense of how it may fit into the broader context of communication scholarship. Once you've done all of that, you should be at about 15 or 20 pages or so for your research proposal outline. That's before you get to your reference section. Remember, this is in full APA format with a cover page, abstract, and reference section, as well as appendices. So the body of your paper, the actual writing, should be at least 15 full pages. In addition to that, let's wrap up by looking at the week 4 agenda. This is all we have going on this week, so this is going to take the crux and the bulk of what you'll be doing. You'll be reading through chapters 8 and 9 in the Babby text, as well as 7 and 8 in the Rubin text and watching the 3 videos listed in the weekly agenda. If you should have any questions, please do not hesitate to reach out to me. I look forward to interacting with you all online this week and pray you have a blessed week.